it to the end of this series. Again, this is Edward, your attorney, here to wrap up our discussion of interpretation of a property insurance policy in the state of Florida as we approach hurricane season here in the state. So I'm going to wrap up with a view on endorsements, which is this is a definite last but not least video, as the endorsements can end up being the most important part of your insurance policy, as they typically redefine terms in your standard policy or add in additional exclusions that are not part of the standard insurance policy. So be sure to look at these things when you buy a new policy or when you get a new one in the mail. Even as you auto renew with the same insurance company, they can add in new endorsements that were not there before. So you want to keep an eye out on these things as time passes. So uh, let's start by looking at probably a much more complex policy than what you're ever going to see in terms of a residential property. This is a commercial insurance policy, but it's kind of the extreme to demonstrate the point here. So here's the standard declarations page, and you can see on this commercial policy different forms and endorsements that can apply. I mean, there's tens of them here, and all of them are significant and as significant as the one before. So they all are impacting this person's coverage to some extent. And so typically with the endorsements, they're going to be found at the very end of your policy. So sometimes when I'm actually looking at a new policy, I may actually start from the end and work my way up. So I first see the endorsements, which take precedent over the standard policy. So you don't spend time looking at the standard policy thinking that you find coverage only to get to the end and then find that it's been removed by an endorsement. So actually the best way to look at a policy sometimes is backwards, where you're looking at it from the end. And if you look at this one from the end, you can see just how many different endorsements this policy has and how it affects their coverages, and even some that you may not even imagine. I mean, there's a sinkhole endorsement, cannabis endorsement, burglary endorsement, cyber incident endorsement and exclusion, and the list goes on and on. And all of these things are, again, as you can see from the screen here, just as complex as some of the things that I've shown you in the prior videos. So those are obviously extreme examples. I do want to focus on some more common ones that I would say be wary of. And your agent, if these things are in your policy, should be telling you these things. At the worst, if your policy is auto renewing, your insurance company has to give you requisite notice of any kind of changes like this. And I don't think I've ever seen someone purchase an endorsement quite like the one I have on the screen right now without knowing it. But it is possible that your policy could actually completely exclude hurricane damage. So this is an example of one type of endorsement that is for sale in the state of Florida. Depending on who you are, what kind of coverages you're looking for, how much you're looking to spend on your policy, you could potentially purchase a policy that has hurricane completely excluded from coverage. So windstorm or hail completely excluded. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another one that's becoming more common now is what's called a payment schedule for roof depreciation. Basically, what the insurance company is doing is leveraging its position against you and trying to lessen its risk by putting this endorsement in the policy that depreciates your potential return on roof damage depending on the age of your roof. And so if you see something like this in your policy, be very wary of it and know that your potential outcome on a claim for your roof is going to be impacted, as you can see in this table, depending on the type of roof that you have and the age. The older it gets, the less you're going to be paid. So let's say you have a shingle roof that is 15 years old, you're only going to receive 40% of the value of your claim on that roof damage. So if you need $40,000 worth of replacement costs, let's say on your shingle roof, insurance company only has to pay you 40% of that 40,000. So something very important to keep in mind, especially if you have an older roof, I would be careful about having a policy like this. Another endorsement that's becoming more common as we see water damage in the form of, let's say, internal water damage, not external water damage, being more and more restricted in Florida, is now we're seeing complete exclusions purported to be delivered in these policies. So what you see here is a purported complete exclusion on water damage from the interior of a property. As you can see here, it talks about water coming from different systems within the property. And if you purchase something like this, and God forbid you have some sort of an internal plumbing water damage, your insurance company may try to deny your claim. In fact, this particular endorsement that I have on the screen is actually the subject of an appeal that I'm handling right now, where I'm trying to help my clients for a denied claim that they have where the insurance company denied it on this particular ground. So that's something else to be very wary of. And another one that's becoming more common in the form of endorsements to policies is the insurance company having a right to repair your property with their own contractors that they get to select, and really leaves you completely out of the picture in fixing your own home. And even worse than that, you have to pay your insurance company your deductible in the event that they elect to go this route. So if you see something like this, make sure you understand what you're buying. Maybe it's the right thing for you, but most likely it's not. So just be very wary if you see anything like this in your policy. And again, this alters all the coverages within your own policy, gives the insurance company the right to repair. Now, there's tens, if not hundreds, of these different clauses that we could talk about. Just really just trying to demonstrate a point for you of how these endorsements can substantially impact your coverages. And so don't overlook them. They're just as important as the rest of your policy. So I think that brings me to a good ending point with reviewing your insurance policy and what some of the most important aspects are to understand your coverages. Again, I'm here to help you. I'm your attorney anytime. If you have a question, particularly again, as we enter hurricane season, if you do suffer a loss that you don't feel like you can handle on your own, that's what I do for a living. I interpret these clauses because, again, as I started with the first video, this is a binding contract that you have with your insurance company. You're both parties to the contract. You both have obligations, as I've shown through some of these videos, but most importantly, it's the insurance company that has obligations to you. And you don't know what rights you have on your claim or what value you have on your claim without understanding what your insurance company is obligated to do in the event that you report a claim to them. And all those fine print details are included in these pages that I've talked about in these past several videos. So it is extremely important to understand a policy when you're filing a claim. Most people think they can do this on their own, and you can get to sort of a certain point. But in order to fully understand if your insurance company is doing the right thing and to fully understand what the value of your claim can be, you need to understand the in-depth analysis of how these policies work, which, in my opinion, is best left up to a professional if you can get to that point. So, again, I'm here to help you. I appreciate you listening and watching all these videos. I truly hope that maybe you learned at least one thing from this time spent watching the videos. If you have any additional questions, things that you want me to maybe feature in future videos, or questions I can answer either publicly or privately, reach out to me. You know, I'm always happy to speak with any of my clients, as I like to maintain continuing relationships with all of you. So I wish you all the best. Of course, stay safe during this hurricane season. And again, remember that I'm here for you as you need me, if you need me. So take care. Thank you again for watching.